One key takeaway when we talk about sovereignty, just do it. The time is over to discuss about it. You have to do it. You have to try it out.
Hello to everyone watching our interview series. Today we have Robin Hermann, who is the CTO and member of the board at STACKIT and Schwarz Digits. Robin, thank you very much for giving us your time today.
Thanks for having me.
For our audience, many of them know you, but if for someone who is thinking, who is Robin Hermann, maybe a quick introduction would be great.
Yeah, I'm a tech guy for all of my career, and I also spent all of my career within Schwarz Group. So of course, did a lot of retail IT in the past, always very technical. And someone decided that the idea of building up a cloud, trying to compete with the hyperscalers is super challenging. And this is when I took over the technical responsibility for STACKIT. So basically for everything, how do we build a cloud? How do we shape the product portfolio? How do we run this? And this is what I do for a living, and it's quite a challenging and interesting job.
Awesome. Robin, I'll jump directly into the question side. STACKIT positions itself as the cloud you can touch, which is very hard. A lot of German enterprises love you guys. Mm-hmm. What is something special about STACKIT which differentiates it from the US hyperscalers? Yeah.
If we talk about being the cloud to touch, this basically means that you can have direct conversations with the decision makers. And I encountered our first meeting. It was a phone call, and it was like my sales guy saying, "Hey, there was this guy who does something in AI. Maybe you want to talk with him." And I was on the way from my car to the office, and then we were phoning, and it was a wonderful phone call, and this led us to where we are now. And this is basically something which I guess would be very hard in terms of achieving the same colleague on the US American side. And I learned that as being a customer of many of those companies for quite a long time, that often it's very hard to also get in touch with engineers, get in touch very closely to this organization, because of course they are super large and they are very far away. And that is what differentiates us also in how we work together. And that's something which I also love very much, because really seeing how customers and partners use our products, also getting the feedback, which is sometimes very nice, which is also sometimes very hard. And of course, also we need that feedback. That is what I really love also in how we do this.
So Robin, again, thank you for having us in the Schwarz campus. It's incredible. Like, it's my first time here with my team. And I have been to Meta, Apple, those campuses in Silicon Valley and other places. And I have to say that it's really on a very high standards what you guys have built here.
Thank you.
Though you still say STACKIT is a startup.
Yeah.
So maybe elaborate a bit on like how the startup corporate has this connection together.
Yeah. I mean, we try to bring the best of both worlds. And on the one hand, building a cloud is a real long-term thing, which requires a lot of resources, which also, of course, requires a lot of long-term thinking. And we can do that as we are rooted in Schwarz Group. And Schwarz Group, of course, very well known for Lidl and Kaufland. I mean, they provide the environment to make us successful in terms of enabling us doing it. They also act as our customer zero. So a lot of the solutions that we bring to the market are already tested with some of these customers. And due to them being very large, this also means that we really can run those things at scale. On the other hand, we decided to run Schwarz Digits, and especially the STACKIT part, like a startup in the organization, so not having to worry about all the rules that maybe come with the large organization, therefore having to worry about many other rules like regulation, like testation, like certifications. But this is like where we try to bring in the best of both worlds, having this tech mindset, having a tech organization here, also being able to build a campus like that, because we strongly believe that there is value in people working together in the same room, and we want to provide an environment where people like to go, where they also can work in flexibly, where they have all the nice things that we have here, from fitness over a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
And therefore, and again, we may not be able to afford it if we would have not been part of Schwarz Group and Schwarz Digits, which of course is also providing all the IT solutions to all of the companies of Schwarz Group.
So you have to promise us that next time when we do another round of the interview, we do a tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And show all the audience also around. So coming back to the EU German sovereignty versus the Cloud Act or the Patriot Act,
Yeah.
which American companies follow. When you are discussing with the CIOs, CEOs of big corporates who love AWS, who love Microsoft Azure, what's your pitch, or how do you, I know that you're not selling them, how do you inform them the digital sovereignty topic?
I mean, first of all, I would say I've been a big fan of the US hyperscalers too. I mean, what they've built from a technology perspective, that is phenomenal. This is really, really top-edge technology. On the other hand, the world we live in is maybe not the same it has been 5 or 10 years ago. So there has been a lot of talking about Cloud Act, about data privacy frameworks, about all these things. And you know, there have always been people like Schrems who have said, hey, this is not good what you're doing there, more in the data privacy part. But for many organizations, this felt very theoretical. It's like more an academic discussion and not the reality. What we see now is that these things become reality, that we see organizations that are threatened for political reasons, and that we also see that some of these companies don't take into account how we have our values on how we treat data, how we treat organizations, and therefore this is a thing where I feel I do not need to do as much marketing as I would have been done 3 or 4 years ago, which does not mean that I like the political situation that we are in, but there have been cases where these scenarios showed to be reality. This is the one thing I often tell, and then the other thing is often, I mean, when we had the COVID crisis, we learned a lot on how fragile our supply chains were. Yeah. And I often say, okay, we all learned that maybe somehow de-risking your supply chain, setting different channels, different regions into your supply chain, many organizations learned that this totally makes sense in terms of becoming more resilient. And then I often ask, I mean, where is your IT supply chain headed? Where is your IT supply chain rooted in? And how important is your IT supply chain for your business? Because there are not many businesses that say, okay, I could turn down my IT for a week and I would still be alive. And that is also something where I say, also for a very large scale organization, it's not a on-off decision in terms of I have to be either sovereign or unsovereign. It's like, okay, maybe I have to look on what my workloads are. What can I do with what solution? And maybe it's totally fine to do my presentations with a US Office solution. Maybe if I talk about, just talking about what Schwarz Group thinks, if I talk about sensitive customer data, if I talk about the models that we use to power our supply chain, like doing demand forecasting, we're like, okay, maybe this is super sensitive and this is where like the success of our business lies in, and maybe these are things that I would prefer doing in a sovereign way. And this is like, also for every organization, this is not like the one blueprint where I say this is the right answer, but it's at least being aware that there is this risk, managing it, and then having different solutions at hand to be able to act.
It's so incredible. Maybe before I jump to other questions, one question just comes in my mind. There's a lot of buzzwords around at the moment. Security, sovereignty. Maybe if you can help our audience, what does sovereignty actually means?
I mean, being in a retail company for quite a long time, we often talked about sovereignty not in a political sense, but for us it was just the ability to stand up from the negotiation table. And in retail this is very easy. If you have 2 suppliers for a product, it's very easy to stand up. Yeah. If you don't, probably you're not going to stand up. And that is, for me, if you think it on it that way, it's often in terms of thinking about, do I have alternatives? Do these alternatives rely in another jurisdiction? So this is something where I would say this can often be brought to that core. Am I able to stand up on the negotiation table? Which means I have to have real solutions at hand, not only theoretically, but I have to test things, I have to prove things, I have to take parts of my workloads in a second solution. Then I'm with that. So that is maybe the most easiest definition. Of course, there are a lot of others, and typically there is like a thing that we call data sovereignty, which is like, who has ownership on my data, and can I ensure that I'm the only one having ownership on my data? There is technological sovereignty, which is more like, how capable am I to run which parts of my stack, on which dependency do I have? Of course, there's a legal component in that, and if you talked about Cloud Act and these things, they totally play into those things, and there again, Different industries have different regulations they fall in. Of course, they have a different stance there. But all of these things get very, very detailed. And at the end of the day, for me, it's so easy. And also, if you have discussions with C-levels and ask them, and you pick one of the 3 vendors and say, okay, would you really be able to stand up on the negotiation table if they come and say, you pay twice the money?
Yeah.
And guess what? Mostly you aren't. And this is what the other side knows. And that also means certainty for me, like having different options on the table.
And maybe independence over your
Obviously,
decision. Yeah. Follow-up question to that one. When the US, Europe relations were good, everybody going with Azure, and it is a good solution. As you said, like you really like the hyperscalers. We also see a lot of inspiration from those companies. What if these relations are much better again? Where do STACKIT position itself then?
First of all, I totally hope that they will be better again. So, I also think that it would be better for the world if we would not be in a situation where we are. On the other hand, I feel that the thing that has been broken is trust, and trust is much more easily destroyed than built. And I guess many companies and organizations learned the hard way that they can't trust blindly on anybody. I mean, this is not only the US, this is China, this is all the global politics we are in. And then for me also, this is part of the hope I have, that it really, I would hope that Europe gets it together, and because I feel, especially not only thinking as German, but as European is super important in that, because only then we are such a relevant economical area. But this is a strong hope that I have, that people have understood that we need to have more of this knowledge, that we have to take care that we have these parts of the supply chain, be it digital or be it non-digital, still in our continent. Talking about this trust thing, I really think trust that is lost once is not regained easily. This means a lot of the things that change now, organizations and companies moving to sovereign solutions, I mean, this is also not an easy decision they do. This is a long road, and I don't feel that they do easily push back. Do I have a go-to-market advantage out of the situation currently? Of course, because it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
But I also, in discussions that I have with many IT leaders, this is not like that they say, if it's over, then we go back. It's more like, okay, probably, especially the larger corps are like, I'll establish a sovereign solution as a second or third supplier, and then I am able to switch, and then I'm able to make my mind up on what I do with whom, and this will not go away. So this is what I totally believe, and I also hope that also on a political level, we get our act together in terms of fostering the ecosystem, of having the right incentives for organizations and also for companies to build here, to do the things here. And I guess there is so much value in that. And so therefore, I totally believe there is no way back.
And one thing I have to add here for all the viewers, you guys at STACKIT, you're also very humble. You only present about the sovereignty, but as you were sharing with us that you are investing heavily on infrastructure, building new technologies, creating environments, I think this will also give STACKIT a very good standing in next couple of years to come. So it's also great to invest there, really, like we have to be more vocal about that, I think.
Maybe especially as we are from southern Germany, we are more like not speaking about but more doing. and yes, the investments are heavy. But I would like to emphasize, I mean, for us it was very uncommon to talk publicly about the data center project we do in Lübbenau. This was like a first timer, because typically we don't talk about such things, but it was like, okay, we have to show that there are real alternatives there, and that there is, and it's not only us, there are also other players in the market that really try to do such things. I often emphasize that this is not the hardest part of my job, because and it's not easy to build data centers, so don't get me wrong, but the hardest part is really having the brain power to build this stack, because, and again, what the hyperscalers build is phenomenally, is really excellent technology, and it's not, I mean, they don't build better computers. That is like settled. They build very excellent computers because they also go in hardware, but this is not like where they have the biggest lever. It's really the people that build a platform, the software on the platform, how they build it, how they scale it. And this is also one of my hardest challenges in terms of getting this kind of talent on board, understanding how we can do such things at scale. And again, this is of course an investment in people that we do, and we do that all over Europe. And on the other hand, I also feel that if we manage to somehow go more into this ecosystem approach in terms of also partnering also with guys like you and create this ecosystem out of Europe, and also together with US companies, don't get me wrong, but that if we create this ecosystem, this kind of creates a flywheel effect that ensures that it is not like if there is a new president or if there is peace all over in the world, that this will go back then.
Absolutely.
Which doesn't mean that I would not hope for both of these things.
No, this I think is very, very clear. So Robin, as you mentioned regarding the relation between talent, startups, big corporates, I think we all have to bring this ecosystem and build it together. Yeah. We know that Schwarz Group is very active when it comes to startups. So what is the role of startups you see in Germany and Europe when it comes to the true, let's say, digital age for Europe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would say the most important companies nowadays have been startups 20 years ago. So look at Amazon, look at Google. They have not been these large corporations they are now. Look at Anthropic. I mean, how old are they? It's not like decades. It's like
Anthropic, like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
So
STACKIT.
STACKIT, of course. Schwarz Group themselves, we are a bit older, but therefore I feel that typically startups are at the forefront of bringing the innovation. And typically, I mean, if I look at large corporations, the decision-making processes are typically more complex. The risk appetite typically is not that big. And this is where I feel startups are super important to drive these things. And what I then again feel is super important, and where I also think we can be better, is how do we bring these things together. And I often see that large corporations, and especially large organizations, public organizations, are very, very careful on whether they go into startups or not. And I had some RFPs where we were entering a STACKIT, and again, we could use the power of the group themselves, but then there were questions like, we want somebody with having experience of providing a cloud for 5 years. And I was like, guys, if you really do the RFP like that, probably no European competitor will enter it, because we all started like 5 years ago. How should we do that? And this was like a very crazy process, and I feel this changes. So also public corporations, public organizations are more willing to go into these kind of partnerships, and this is really something I would absolutely love organizations to do more. And this is also where we as Schwarz Group, but honestly not also the group, it's more like also the academia that we have in Heilbronn, it's the incubators that we have, that again, we try to have a bit of this ecosystem approach, that you have the strong universities, that you have for people that want to build the possibility to have funding for startups, but then again having the network of like having connections to mature companies, having all these things together. I guess that is also the power that we as a continent have, that there is so much old industry, put it that way, in terms of very specialized companies and in this or that area. And if we manage that startups work close together with them, I guess we have a unique position. And of course, looking at the European scale, we also have to talk about a capital market, because I mean, one of the biggest advantages, and I see many people I know that just went to the US because it's easier to get funded there, because there's less regulation, and we have to really outweigh how we manage that. So also from a political perspective, and this does not mean that I'm against regulation. That's also super important, because I guess on the other hand, part of these regulations protect our values, protect our competitiveness. But long story short, I absolutely believe that we have to close this gap between startups and grown-ups, and that startups then help fostering innovation, fostering speed of innovation. And I feel, especially in the world of the AI, that changed many organizations, because they have a lot of fear of missing out. So all organizations are aware there is something happening. So even the organizations that were, I would say, digital skeptics, like maybe we do SAP for financing and that's okay, then we are digital, but not the rest. all of these organizations understand now that AI will fundamentally change the way we do business in so many types of organizations, and this often, I have the feeling that often means that they are more willing to take a certain risk, to deal with a partner which is not like the many billion revenue company and things like that. And this is why also I hope that you're in the right spot to participate of that.
No, this is completely true from what you just said regarding the, we see a strong support when it comes to European enterprises. We also see a good pull from our customers that they are willing to integrate AI. The only challenge we see as a startup as well is, as you said, like the capital markets, that it's way harder to raise venture funding in Europe than in US. And the customers, the infrastructures are not that built to integrate AI faster versus in the American markets. Every second week we get queries from US to be there or move there or get investment from there.
Good that you're still here.
And as an immigrant founder, so the two of us out of three are immigrants.
Really? I wasn't aware.
I'm from southern Germany, so I don't speak that good German in your accent, you know, that's why I'm keeping English. No, Germany has provided us this ecosystem to really build a company here. And that's why we are very appreciative of that. And today, sitting with you, as you mentioned in the phone call, it was just one random moment, and you giving us this respect, and we are here today. Similar question now to that ecosystem. When you see Germany, you grew up here, you have family here, you have kids, you see them growing here. What would be your wish as Robin Hermann for the next decades to come? Where would you position Germany when it comes to AI with policies? Nothing political, I don't want to touch, but like what your wish would be.
I mean, I'm a total optimist. First said that. And I also think optimism is the only way of living that makes sense, because pessimism always fulfills itself. So optimism is the only way to change things. And I strongly believe that we are currently in a momentum where Europe gets its thoughts together. I hope that we really understand that the power of our continent is being united, that we really have to understand ourselves as different we are. And of course, a German and a Spanish and an Italian and a Czech and a Romanian European brings another history, brings something different to the table. But I guess that is also what makes us strong. It also makes us strong in terms of we are so used to handle different languages, different cultures, which is not the same in the US, I would say. So I see that if we play these cards well, we will maintain relevant in very important industries. And I feel that we can play a significant role, especially if we manage to bring the AI world together with the industrial world. Because at the end of the day, to make good AI, you need to have good data. And probably all of the public available data is already used to train the frontier models. So the thing left is industry data, and this is where we in Europe are uniquely positioned in terms of we still have a lot of these industries. And I see a future where we take these powers together and are at the forefront of what sometimes now is called industrial AI. And for me, it's not only industry in the classical things in terms of large production sites, but also industries. I mean, even retail for me is an industry, and the Schwarz Group itself is also performing so well because we heavily integrate technology in what we do. And really being at the forefront of these companies that integrate AI and technology in general into their processes, and that we derive new businesses from that. That is what I envision. And of course, I'm not too happy that currently there is like, if you talk about frontier models, everything is happening either in the large 3 US companies or with open weight models, which basically come out of China. And I would absolutely love having the capability of building frontier models in Europe, not only in terms of the compute capacity that you need, but also in terms of the brains that you need. And again, I mean, I'm not sure, and I often tell these to people, if you look at the groundbreaking paper, this attention is all you need paper, and look at the names of the people that have been written that, and you see, okay, Chinese, Czech, German, it was a Brit, I guess it was 3 US Americans and 5 non-US Americans. Nevertheless, it was out of Google's DeepMind laboratory, which is very American, which means it looks like we are able to somehow produce the brain.
Or outsource it then.
And exactly, and I feel that people understand better now what is also in a society where we have these values. So this is something we can play. We have these industries, and 5 years from now we will be like on the forefront of really the AI in the real business world. And this is my hope, and I guess we all have to do our part in terms of making that vision reality.
Knock the wood for that. But maybe coming to very quickly on we discuss regulations, we discuss the geopolitical infrastructures and everything. Maybe very quickly on the AI part itself, a bit on technical side. You mentioned open weight models.
Yep.
And yes, you're right. Dominantly, a big majority comes from China right now. Mistral is doing a good job, I think, in Europe. Where do you see these or the usage of these open weight models? Because as DeepMask, we do offer frontier models.
Yep.
However, we also have a very good chunk of open source, especially also with STACKIT.
Yep.
So how do you see the open weight models and the future of these?
I mean, the one thing, of course, what it brings is more independence and therefore more sovereignty, as you can more easily run it on probably every environment. So that, of course, is the thing I love from the sovereignty perspective. And when you look at our model serving, we of course started primarily with open weight models. We have some collaborations where we also bring closed models on it, but primarily it's open weight models. And I mean, we all talked about the DeepSeek moment when DeepSeek R1 was released, and it was like, wow, that's a really powerful model. But it felt like, okay, they were like 2 weeks close to being on eye level with the frontier models, and then they were left behind again. And now we have exactly the same, that maybe call it Kimi moment. And what I want to say by that is at least the difference or the distance between frontier and an open weight model isn't that huge. And of course, you have to choose very wisely, and often you find that for a specific task like coding, like generating text, like maybe some business tasks like understanding of legal things, understanding of, I don't know, different models perform differently, and I guess there are still things where a frontier model absolutely outperforms maybe also Kimi, but the distance in general isn't not that big. And this also brings, of course, a thing for me to say, if you incorporate AI models in your organization, for me it's super important not just to rely on a single model, because everybody who says in 6 months the open weight models will lead, or Anthropic will lead, or Google will lead, I mean, this is just guesswork, and we don't know, and therefore you have to stay open enough. And I think taking a look on where you can leverage open weight models absolutely makes sense, because on the one hand you reduce the dependency. On the other hand, I mean, looking at the price, of course, it's often also much more cheap to leverage them. And this is also, again, if you look at how Schwarz Group as STACKIT customer leverages this, they use everything. And there are in several things they say, okay, we use the frontier models because we found out that for coding in our environment, XYZ is the best model. For like 80% of the backend stuff we do, the open weight models are more than good enough. And this is also something, again, don't go too deep into one of these models, but really maintain the flexibility of like integrating all of them.
I think that's where now coming back everything together to sovereignty, that you have the chance to choose and jump and close. Maybe one last question on that topic. There are many players in the German or the European market which is offering AI solutions. And they all label it sovereign, secure, like us. But there exists a technical challenge, which is that majority of them use American clouds like Azure, AWS. We as DeepMask, we chose to be hosted on STACKIT.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. No, you have a great service. When we are talking to CTOs, CIOs, I'm asking you as a help. How
Yeah.
should we help them navigate that the true sovereignty lies where your application layer is hosted or your data is resting, not just the AI model, etc.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
please help us.
exactly. I mean, sometimes there is this more harsh term of sovereignty washing, and I mean, of course, all the organization learned. All of the tech organizations learned that people become more aware on the sovereignty aspect. So what you do probably is to say, hey, I'm sovereign too, because otherwise I can sell into a specific market. And typically the solutions we find are, I operate a data center in Germany, so this must be sovereign. Or I have a legal entity which is German, this must be sovereign. And I mean, there are so many variants of that. And also, to be quite honest, of course, for some organization that may be exactly what they need, and this is super fair then. But for me, the interesting part is not what happens on a legal page of paper, because I often say, I mean, if it's just the wall of paper that is somehow protecting you, this can be teared down very easily. I'm not sure whether an external legal lawmaker or executive takes into account that some organization has made a contract with you that states it's not allowed to do that. And I also feel just like having a data center, I mean, the question is who has the control on that? Who has the intellectual power that is running in there? And that is typically something which is, of course, a much more fine-grained discussion. But especially talking about you guys, I mean, this is a very clear story, and this is the same story that we tell, because we tell, okay, for our core stack, the software we depend on is either open source or we own it. So we are totally capable of running this stack without any external influence, be it from which region of the world ever, which of course gives us the ability to say, okay, whatever happens out there, we can provide you with the quality of service you need. And that's the same with you. If you say, okay, I mean, you run in Germany probably, and even in southern Germany, and therefore also like, okay, there is no thing that can put you out of running these things just from an external perspective. And that is like, for me, the highest level of sovereignty. And also, and I know we often don't like the European regulation, because sometimes they tend to regulate very much, but they have a sovereignty framework which you can read in 5 minutes. And that is like, so, okay, a regulation that I can read in 5 minutes is very easy accessible to me. And they really layered it into like several dimensions, and then say, okay, in these dimensions you can rank from non-sovereign and super sovereign. And I must also be very fair, we also can't rank highest sovereignty in all of these parts, because they say, of course, it would be cool if we had like chips, memory, servers also out of Europe. And I mean, probably if you want to buy GPUs, that's a hard game currently. Exactly. Also, if you want to buy CPUs, that's a hard game. Nevertheless, also there, we have our mind in terms of how can we harden our supply chains, how can we take things on stock so that we do not have the direct dependency. But if you are really willing to go into discussion, I would say this framework is excellent. We even made, with a partner, with a consulting agency, we made like a certifiable assessment out of that, which is based on that, DS3, exactly.
We are part of that.
Yeah.
So.
And that is exactly based on the sovereignty model of the EU. It adds one capability, which is AI, because for some reason the EU did not have AI in it, which is probably crazy. But really, which I think it's not a super complex framework. I mean, the framework itself from the EU is very simple, and of course, if you want to make it certifiable, testable, then you have to put a bit of more definitions into it. But this is exactly also why we went into that, because we said, okay, if we then, and I talked a lot about this ecosystem, because I do believe sovereignty only can work if we foster this ecosystem, and this means having partners like you. And then, of course, we also have partners that do not reach the same level of sovereignty, and we said, hey, we need to provide a certain clarity to our customers and partners in terms of, hey, this is full sovereign, this is maybe not so sovereign, but maybe it solves your problem, so go for it anyway. But you have to at least be aware and have to be able to make an informed decision. And this is why we said, let's take, together with an auditor, this European sovereignty framework, put a bit more brain power in it, and say, okay, let's make something out of it. And exactly that is why we did that, and why we also said, and why we want our partners to do that, so that we can easily also for, I would say, for not so informed decision makers, make it more easy for them to say, okay, I understand it's like 4 levels and they play on that level, and higher is more sovereign.
And the great part is coming from Schwarz Group is that you are well positioned to do that because you already have a trust brand. And if you accredit that or certify that on your infrastructure, I think this helps a lot of startups like us who want to choose German cloud, but rather go with the American hyperscalers because of these certifications.
And that is why we started that. We felt a need for that on the market, and we did not find anything. So I mean, probably if there has been already something established, we would have been going for that. We also do want to open source that. This is again something where we say, hey, this should not be a closed shop. This should be very transparent. And for me, open source is often one of the best possibilities to achieve transparency. And therefore, I hope we are going in the right direction with that. Yes.
Robin, it's such a pleasure speaking with you. I already got the signal that we are out of time, but I keep one last question where we take away the CTO of STACKIT out and me from DeepMask. How do you use AI in your daily life? And this is a question we always ask all our interviewer partners. You have kids and you see a generation coming in. What is your optimism and fear for that generation? But starting with how do you use AI these days?
I mean, basically, I still code a bit, and of course, I'm not sure how I coded 2 years ago. I can't envision that back. That is so crazy how it changed our core industry. And of course, day by day, I'm even not sure any longer how I managed my email. I'm still not good in managing my email inbox, but I'm not sure how I managed before AI, because it's like, okay, I have a hint on what is important. That gives me like, okay, you missed 10 mails in that flow, this is what happened. Also easy things like transcriptions of meetings, which is like super easy and so ingrained already. So it's like that, but also in private life, like planning holidays. Of course we have summer holidays now in southern Germany, and really creating like a plan, what we do in the holidays, perfect for me. I do a bit of sports, even challenging my training methodology. Awesome. This is so funny, and I guess if you can think about it, you can try it. And again, you still have to think whether it makes sense, because it's like 80% it's very good, 20% is like, also, and if you talk about our kids or even young people, I had a meeting with all of our like technical trainees last week, and I was saying, if you feel that an AI makes your life easier, you're using it wrong. So for me, it's like often making my life harder because I can create more options that I would have not been able to create, but this forces me to make a decision. This forces me to really understand what's happening. And this is what I sometimes see also in business, where people like, I often call it this AI slop thing, where you get like emails or text and like, I totally see that you wrote it with AI, but unfortunately you did not get a point. So, and that is also, if I look at the next generation, again, everybody who is telling he's exactly sure what is happening is a liar, or if he proves right, five years again, it was just luck, I would say. But as I said, I'm a total optimist, and I, like with all the technological innovations we had, I guess it makes our life better. I guess it creates jobs. I guess it creates especially jobs that are more worth being doing, that are more fulfilling. I see, I did a bit of vibe coding over Christmas with my boy who is in sports, and he created a training tracker app. And I was like, being able to create such a thing without any knowledge, and of course, if you look at the code, it was not that fine, but that is so amazing, the options that they have and what they can do, and that is what my optimistic future is like, with all the power these technologies bring, we can enhance society, they can have more interesting jobs, they can have more fulfilling jobs and more fulfilling life. That is my positive vision, but I'm also very aware of the threats. Everything that is bad now can be amplified, and this starts in our business. If you look at cyber attacks, yes, also cyber attackers use AI, and this gives them
deepfakes, for example.
Deepfakes, also all of these things, the risk in it, and of course the question: there will be jobs going away. Will we transform society in a peaceful way? So I also see these downsides, but being very optimistic, I guess we will tackle them and make the best out of it.
And I think Schwarz Digits, can position itself very well in the next decade. As
Hopefully.
you mentioned that your kid vibe coded, and a lot of vibe coders have this security problem, like the infrastructure side. And if this could be outsourced, I think it's a great win. Robin, thank you very much for your time once again.
Thanks for your time.
And it was a pleasure. I can talk to you hours, but I want to respect your time here. One last message you want to give to any viewer, and it could be any message.
I mean, there is maybe only one key takeaway when we talk about sovereignty, and this is just do it. It's the time is over to discuss about it. You have to do it. You have to try it out, and there are options like DeepMask options in the market. Try them out, experiment with it, take some of your productive workload on it, find out what works for you, and just do it. And don't just wait and let the others lead the front, because you will not be in the front at the end then.